Night had already fallen over the ancient city of Rome. The streets were quiet, but inside one cold stone prison, a man waited for death. His name was Cimon. Once he had been a respected citizen, a father, a man who walked the busy roads of Rome with dignity. But fate can change without warning. One accusation, one decision by the authorities, and suddenly his life collapsed. Now he sat alone in darkness. Chains scraped against the floor every time he moved. The air smelled of damp stone and rust. Days passed without sunlight, and the sentence given to him was crueler than execution. No food, no mercy, just a slow death by starvation. The guards believed it was the perfect punishment. A man forgotten by the world, fading away quietly behind iron bars. But there was one person who refused to forget him. His daughter. Her name was Pero. Every day she walked through the busy streets of Rome to reach the prison gates. The guards recognized her now. At first, they searched her carefully. They expected hidden bread, fruit, maybe a small piece of cheese. But they found nothing, not a crumb. And so they allowed her to enter. She stepped into the dark corridor where the prisoners waited like shadows. Torches flickered against the stone walls. Somewhere in the distance, a man coughed weakly. Then she reached the cell. Her father looked nothing like the man she remembered. His cheeks were hollow, his lips were dry. His eyes carried the quiet pain of a man who knew death was approaching slowly. For a moment, they simply stared at each other. No words, just silence filled with fear, love, and helplessness. How could she save him? Food was forbidden. The guards checked everything. Even a small crumb would mean punishment. She returned home that night with tears in her eyes. But she did not give up. The next day, she returned again, and again. Each visit became more painful. Cimon grew weaker with every passing hour. His body trembled. His voice faded into whispers. Then one day, a desperate idea entered her mind. An idea born from love, but one that felt almost impossible. Pero had recently become a mother. Her body still carried milk meant for her child. And in that moment, a shocking thought appeared. Could she keep her father alive this way? At first, the idea frightened her. Society would call it strange, maybe even shameful. But what was more important? Rules or a human life? The next day, she entered the prison once more. The guards searched her again. Nothing. They let her pass. When she reached the cell, she saw her father barely able to sit upright. His breathing was shallow, his hands shook. Death was getting closer. Pero stepped forward slowly. Tears filled her eyes, but her voice remained calm. She told him not to lose hope. Then, with trembling courage, she did something that would become one of the most powerful stories of devotion in human history. She offered him the only nourishment she could give, her own milk. At first, Cimon was shocked. A father accepting life this way from his daughter. It felt impossible. But hunger is powerful, and love is even stronger. With hesitation and deep humiliation, he accepted. That day, he survived. The next day, she returned again, and again. Each visit brought new life to the dying prisoner. The guards noticed something strange. The old man who was supposed to die slowly was not dying. Days passed, then weeks. Instead of growing weaker, he looked slightly stronger. His eyes had more life. His voice carried more breath. Something was wrong. The guards began to whisper among themselves. How could a starving prisoner remain alive? Had someone smuggled food inside? Was there a hidden helper? One afternoon, a suspicious guard decided to watch carefully. He hid near the cell corridor, waiting quietly in the shadows. Soon, Pero arrived. She greeted the guards politely and walked down the familiar path toward her father's cell. The guard followed silently. When she reached the cell, he watched through the narrow bars, and what he saw froze him in place. Pero sat beside her father. She looked around nervously. Then she did the same act she had done many times before. The guard's eyes widened. Shock, confusion, disbelief. He had never seen anything like this. At first, he felt anger. This was against prison rules, against social norms, against everything the system expected. But as he continued watching, something inside him changed. This was not shameful. This was not scandal. This was pure love. A daughter refusing to let her father die. The guard stepped forward suddenly. The sound of his footsteps echoed in the corridor. Pero turned quickly, fear rushing through her body. She thought everything was over. Punishment, prison, maybe worse. But the guard did something unexpected. He said nothing. Instead, he walked away. Later, the story reached other guards, then the prison commander,
and finally the authorities of Rome. The reaction was not what anyone expected. No anger, no punishment, only astonishment. In a world filled with betrayal and cruelty, this moment revealed something rare, a human heart capable of extraordinary sacrifice. The leaders of Rome made a decision. The man who had been condemned to starve would be released, not because he broke the law, but because his daughter's love had moved even the hardest hearts. And so the prison doors opened. Cimon walked out alive. Beside him stood Pero, the daughter whose courage defeated death itself. Their story spread quickly across Rome. Artists painted it, writers recorded it, philosophers discussed it for generations. They gave this story a name that would echo through history: Roman charity. A reminder that love sometimes appears in the most unexpected forms. A reminder that rules and traditions can fade, but compassion remains powerful. And perhaps the greatest lesson hides in a simple question. What would you do if the life of someone you love depended entirely on you? Would you follow the rules of society, or listen to the quiet voice of your heart? Because thousands of years ago, in a dark prison cell in Rome, one daughter chose love, and that choice became immortal.